The stars had watched humanity for thousands of years. They had seen the first fires burn in caves. They had seen the first ships sail across oceans. They had seen the first rockets leave Earth's atmosphere. But the stars had kept a secret. Humanity was not alone. They had never been alone. In the year 2847, the Galactic Confederation had existed for over 50,000 years. 12 species ruled the known universe. They controlled trade routes that stretched across millions of light years. They commanded fleets that could destroy entire solar systems. And for all that time, they had watched Earth with cold, calculating eyes. Admiral Chun Wei stood on the bridge of the ISV Defiance, the flagship of Earth's Imperial fleet. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair that she kept short. Behind her, the holographic display showed the positions of 300 human warships. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. It was also their only hope. The message had come 3 days ago. The Zorth Dominion, the most aggressive species in the Galactic Confederation, had declared Earth a quarantine zone. No human ship would be allowed to leave their solar system. Any attempt to do so would be considered an act of war. The reason they gave was simple. Humans were too dangerous to be allowed into the galaxy. For 200 years, humanity had expanded beyond Earth. They had colonized Mars, then the moons of Jupiter. They had built stations in the asteroid belt and outposts on the edges of their solar system. They had believed they were alone in the universe. They had believed the stars were empty, waiting for them to fill the void. They had been wrong. First contact had happened 50 years ago. A Zorth patrol ship had entered human space and destroyed a mining colony on Europa. 3,000 people died in seconds. The Zorth had not spoken to humanity. They had not warned them. They had simply killed and left. It was a message. Stay in your system. Stay small. Stay afraid. But humans did not stay afraid. They built bigger ships. They developed better weapons. They trained soldiers who would never surrender. And they waited for the day when they would face their enemy again. That day had come. Admiral Chun looked at the tactical display. The Zorth fleet was approaching fast. Intelligence reports said they had sent 500 ships. Each Zorth warship was twice the size of a human cruiser. Each one carried weapons that could crack a planet's crust. The Confederation believed this fleet would be enough to end humanity forever. They were wrong. Commander James O'Contuel stood at the weapons station. He was tall and broad, with hands that had worked farm equipment before they had learned to fire ship cannons. His family had come from Nigeria originally. His great-grandmother had been among the first colonists on Mars. He carried their strength in his blood. The first Zorth ships appeared on the visual display. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Sleek and silver, shaped like blades cutting through space. Their formation was perfect, mathematical, cold. They moved like predators who had never known fear. Admiral Chun opened a communication channel. Her voice was steady when she spoke. The entire fleet could hear her words. The Zorth believed humanity was alone. They believed humans had no allies, no friends, no one who would mourn their passing. They believed they could wipe out an entire species, and the galaxy would not even notice. But they had misunderstood something important about humans. Humans did not need allies to fight. They only needed each other. The first shot came from a Zorth destroyer. A beam of pure energy that could have melted a mountain struck the shields of a human frigate. The shields held. Engineers on Earth had spent decades studying that first attack on Europa. They had learned from it. They had adapted. The shields were stronger now. Admiral Chun gave the order to return fire. 300 human ships opened fire at once. Missiles streaked across the void. Energy weapons painted the darkness with light. The formation broke into chaos as ships maneuvered for position. The Zorth had expected humans to scatter and run. Instead, humans charged directly into their lines. Lieutenant Sarah Volkov commanded the ISV Thunder, a small destroyer at the edge of the formation. She was 26 years old. Her parents had died in a Zorath raid when she was 12. She had joined the Navy the day she turned 18. She had waited her entire adult life for this moment. Her ship dove between two Zorath cruisers, firing at both. One shot struck the engine section of the enemy ship on her left. The cruiser began to spin, out of control. She did not wait to see it crash into its companion. She was already moving to the next target. The battle spread across thousands of kilometers. Ships died in flashes of light. Escape pods scattered like seeds in the wind. But something strange was happening. The Zorath were losing ships faster than the humans. Their perfect formation had become a mess. Their superior technology was not giving them the advantage they expected. Admiral Chun watched the battle unfold with cold satisfaction. The Zorath had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that superior technology would always win. But technology was only part of warfare. What mattered more? Courage mattered more. The willingness to sacrifice everything for your people mattered more than any weapon ever built. A Zorath command ship broke through the human lines and headed straight for the Defiance. It was 3 times the size of her flagship. Its weapons were already charging. Admiral Chun did not order evasive maneuvers. Instead, she ordered her ship to accelerate directly toward the enemy. Commander Okonkwo understood immediately. He locked every weapon on the enemy command ship. As the 2 vessels closed the distance, he fired everything: missiles, cannons, energy beams. Every weapon the Defiance carried struck the Zorath ship at once. The enemy shields flickered and failed. But the Zorath had fired too. A massive blast struck the Defiance. Sections of the hull tore away. Crew members were lost to the vacuum of space. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Fire suppression systems activated automatically. Admiral Chun held onto her command chair as the ship shuddered. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. She wiped it away and looked at the display. The Zorath command ship was breaking apart. Its bridge section was gone. It was dead in space. Around her, the battle continued. But the momentum had shifted. Human ships were pushing forward. Zorath ships were pulling back. The enemy had come to destroy a species. Instead, they had found warriors. On the other side of the battle, Captain Marcus Reed commanded a squadron of fighters. His small ships weaved through the chaos, striking at vulnerable points on enemy vessels. He had lost half his squadron in the first hour. The survivors fought with desperate fury. His wingman died in a flash of fire. Another pilot screamed over the radio before his signal cut out. Marcus kept flying. He kept fighting. There would be time to mourn later. Right now, he had a job to do. He spotted a gap in the armor of a Zorath battleship, a maintenance hatch that had been damaged by an earlier attack. He dove toward it, ignoring the defensive fire that reached for his fighter. At the last moment, he released his remaining missiles directly into the gap. The battleship exploded from the inside. Marcus flew through the debris, his ship taking damage from the flying metal. Warning lights covered his console. His engines were failing. His life support was compromised, but he was smiling. The Zorath fleet began to retreat. Their admiral had died when the command ship was destroyed. Their remaining captains were arguing over who should take charge. By the time they made a decision, it was too late. Human ships had surrounded them. Admiral Chun broadcast a message to the remaining enemy vessels. She told them they had one chance to surrender. She told them that humanity did not want to destroy them. She told them that this battle could end now, with no more death. But she also told them that if they continued to fight, she would show no mercy. The Zorath commanders debated for 12 minutes. Then, one by one, they lowered their shields and powered down their weapons. The largest military defeat in Zorath history had taken less than 4 hours. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Galactic Confederation had believed humans were a minor species, trapped in their solar system, waiting to be conquered or controlled. They had believed wrong. In the halls of the Confederation Council, the other 11 species watched the recordings with shock and fear. These humans had defeated a Zorath fleet with inferior technology. They had fought with a ferocity that the galaxy had never seen. They had refused to die when dying was the logical choice. The quarantine was lifted within a week. Trade delegations arrived within a month. Species that had ignored humanity for 50 years were suddenly eager to meet them. Everyone wanted to understand how they had won. Admiral Chun returned to Earth as a hero. Parades filled the streets of every city. Children wore uniforms that looked like hers. Songs were written about the battle, but she did not celebrate. She stood at the memorial wall in Geneva, where the names of every human killed by the Zorath were carved into stone. 15,000 names from the Europa attack, 8,000 names from the raids that followed, and now 12,000 names from the battle. She read each one in silence. Commander Okonkwo found her there at sunset. He did not speak. He simply stood beside her and read the names too. They had won the battle. They had proven that humanity could not be conquered. But the cost had been terrible. In the years that followed, humanity expanded across the galaxy. They joined the Galactic Confederation as equals, not as servants. They built colonies on worlds that had never felt human feet. They made friends with species that had once considered them animals. But they never forgot the lessons of that battle. They kept their fleet strong. They trained their soldiers well. They remembered that the galaxy was a dangerous place, and that survival required constant vigilance. The Zorath never threatened humanity again. Their empire crumbled within a century, broken by internal conflicts and the shame of their defeat. Other species rose to challenge the new order. Some became allies. Some became enemies. But all of them learned the same lesson. Humanity was not alone in the universe. But they did not need to be protected. They did not need to be pitied. They did not need to be controlled. They were warriors. They were survivors. They were human. And the stars that had watched them for thousands of years finally understood what that meant. It meant that no matter how dark the void became, there would always be a light burning in the darkness. A light that would never go out. A light called humanity. Admiral Chun died 30 years after the battle, peacefully in her sleep. She was buried with full military honors. A grave marker bore no titles, no awards, no list of achievements. Just her name and 2 simple words beneath it. She fought. That was enough. That was everything. That was what it meant to be human.